Morning. We are Tafkuf Aleph Sif Hey, talking about what fuel or wood can you get wood for fuel to light a fire. So Eitzim Shanosh Ramin Ha'ilam B'Yom. Let's say some branches, it was a windy day, a bunch of branches fell on the ground on Yom Tov. Ema Siki Bahem, you're not allowed to go ahead and use those to light. One, because it's Noilad, because it wasn't Muchan from Erev Yom Tov, it was on the tree. So therefore it's Noilad. There's another reason that maybe you'll come to take down more, whatever, but Al Kopanim, there has to be that the Eitzim were already detached beforehand. Kalim, Shenishbu B'Yom Tov, let's say you Cheres, so you had some, I guess, wooden kli which broke on Yom Tov. Ema seeking behem b'nei shehem noilad. You also can't go ahead and use those, burn those, because that's noilad, because it was a kli before Yom Tov, and it wasn't muhan to be used as fuel. So therefore, it's also to use that. V'imhisik b'kelim, and if you went ahead and you lit, if you lit with kelim, also lahapach b'eish, nachas shehudliku b'mixas, that's have a shivrei kli. That if you went ahead and you decided you prepared kelim for Shabbos, you wanted to get rid of it for Yom Tov, and you lit those on fire to make an eish. It's also to go ahead and once it starts burning to flip it, because then it's called a shever kli, and you can because then it's a shever kli and it's muksa, and you can't go ahead and use and you can't go ahead and flip it because it's muksa. However, if you just leave it, then there's no iser hana by muksa. So therefore, if you cook on top of it, that's fine. But just you can't go ahead and move it unless you go ahead and you throw a bunch of other eitzim on top, which would be rov, which we'll talk about. It's a suki and beta, whatever. About what you're allowed to mevatel it. Now, when masikim bekelim shleimim, you can go ahead and you can go ahead and you can, well, this is the Mechaber, the Ramah seems to be out of order, but you can go ahead and light with Kelim Shleimim, and as the Mishnah points out, the Ramah is really going over here, but you can't move them after they start burning. Of the Kelim Shenishbu V'Yayim, broken Kelim V'Yayim, and you have, and so therefore they're only made to go ahead and be used as, for fuel.
And then you can flip them over.
Then you can flip them over, right. Zayin, shkedim ve'agozim she'achlu me'erev Yom Tov. Let's say you ate shkedim and agozim on Erev Yom Tov. Masiking klipei Yom Tov. You can go ahead and burn their shells on Yom Tov, because there was psolas, it was omid to go ahead and, to burn or whatever. However, if you ate the nuts on Yom Tov, ein masiking b'klipein, then you can't, because again, it was before Yom Tov, it was omid la'achila, it was omid to be shomer the achila. So therefore, if we crack it open and you want to light with it, that's again it's noilad, and that would be aser. You should not just throw nuts into the fire. Unless they're in the klipa, because they're oichel. When you want to throw, nuts and things in, and then unless it's in the klipa, then with the klipa, sometimes people will burn everything together. Now, let's say you have wicks, or you have torches, things, whatever, which are still usable after the first Yom Tov. You're allowed to go ahead and reuse the wicks, reuse the lapidos, even on Yom Tov Sheni Shel Rosh Hashanah, Yom Tov Acher, Shabbos, or if you use it for Shabbos, you can use it Yom Tov after Shabbos, because it's considered even though it's like noila, but for the next day it's mutter to use. The Shur brings machmirim, and therefore he says that, it's better to just have new psilos.
What's the issue?
The issue is no. I can't. Because it's not because it. So it says that. One second. That. It's hacham mitam hachana, not mitam noila. Mitam hachana. Sorry, I made a mistake. Mitam hachana because you've been making. It was mucha, whatever, which is also to use. The Torah says it is much to use that. That's not called hachana. The yishbach mirim. Akopanim that you can go ahead and reuse the wicks, or let's say other stuff like ashes. Like let's say let's say it's to the Yom Tov, you made a barbecue on the first day and you have ashes left. You want to relight them and also do the same din. I don't know whether you can use the coals from Erev Pesach, from leftover from the burning the chametz. That I don't know whether you can use it like different chametz there. But if you know it was vaday, it was vaday, burnt out, then you can even use that. We can even use that. Din ha'esh beyond the tafkuf beis. Now, what do we light with? Ein motzim eish. Lo min ha'etzin, lo min ha'avanim, lo min ha'afar, v'lo min hamayim. There's an issur to go ahead and to create fire. We can't not from eitzim that you rub eitzim together, v'lo min ha'avanim, or you make a spark with havanim, v'lo min ha'afar. That if you go ahead and you have very hard ground, so that you can make sparks. If you take a metal shovel and you slam it into the ground, you can make a spark. That if you go ahead and you have water in a glass, that it like magnifying. It turns into like a magnifier, and it can cause things to catch on fire. The Mishnah Berurah says that b'diavad, if you did do it, what's the issue here? Is moilid. That you're molid and eish. Shaila is what does that mean? What's the issue? Whether it's because it's something that it's a malacha which could be done on Erev Yom Tov, because you could just light a fire and have it there. Whether it's an issur of molid, which is like nolad, which you're creating something new. Taz's lashon is yesh me'ayin. He says you're the issur of molid is you're mamish bury something. You're doing yesh me'ayin. So therefore, that is also on Yom Tov. Taz mash it's even deraisa, but the Mishnah Berurah says b'diavad if you did start a fire, that you are allowed to go ahead and to use it. Interesting discussion about we got a couple of nakudas here about about matches. Shulchan talks about matches. And he says that matches are interesting because it could be that if you go ahead and when you strike a match, he said it's not catching. It's very flammable substance, and so the fire is coming out of the sulfur, the tip. It's sort of coming out of the tip. So even if you go ahead and you put it next to, so there's an issue. People use a match to go ahead and light from candles to whatever. He says it's an issue because it could be that the who says what's the thing here is the light from the candle the fire causing the match to catch fire, or is it so highly flammable that the heat is causing the match to explode in flame? So which is b'molid. So the Orach Chaim says therefore you should be makbid. So Sefer also. You should be makbid to go ahead and be sure you stick the match into a flame if you're going to use it, because then we'll say that that the is coming from it's catching from the actual flame. Or don't use the match, use a stick or something, or use the back end of a match. But if you go ahead and you stick it next to something hot, but not actually in the flame, it could be that's molid, and that would be also to use that match. The other big issue over here is what about electricity? All the poskim ask, what about electricity? Are you allowed to go ahead and use electricity on Yom Tov? Is it b'molidesh? Is it not? Orach Chaim said there are a few poskim who are mekel. The Orach Chaim was mekel because he said that the eish electricity is like Aish, and it's existing in the wires already, so it's not molid, it's just some shachas Aish, whatever, and therefore it's mutter. However, Rov poskim afterwards weren't masking to that, and because chashmal is not, electricity is not Aish. It's a way to work things, a way to start things. It's a way to start Aish, but it's not actually Aish. Besides the Chazon Ish, who holds it's an isser of if it's in the wall, it's bona, and the kli is makar patish. That's something else. But most poskim are not all poskim nowadays aren't makel. There was a whole shiloh, 80 years or whatever it was, more than 100 years ago, about using microphones on Yom Tov. And whether that's a problem or not, that's why, there were poskim who said it's okay. What do you mean? It's Yom Tov, whatever. But that's also, what about cars? So what's the issue to drive it out of the car? It's age. What's the problem driving a car in Yom Tov? Or is there only the Rabbanon? What would be the Isser? So the Chor, it's again, there is a Machol, it's Molid Eish, because when the spark plugs create sparks, and then that's being, that's like, which the, gasoline catches fire, so that's being Molid Eish. Now whether that's the Reis or the Rabbanon is, again, it's a Machlokes between the Taz and other price scheme. So could be it's only in the Sudra Rabbanon, but it's a Chomer, it's a Chomer Isser, and it's not Stam. What about?
That's between electric cars.
So what about? I know at the night share, there's someone that was asking electric cars in general. Is there less of an Isser? Because, he said because it's first of all, there's no ignition, there's no fire there. It's just a electrical circuit which constantly runs, and there's no light. Assuming there's no lights, and assuming that you don't turn any lights or any screens, anything or whatever, theoretically. So then, so according to the Chazon Ish, definitely also because that's makar patish. According to other poskim, Yesh Ladum was obviously the use of his zilzul, and the question is, if you have a choice, you go into the hospital or this, you have a choice between using an electric car and a gas car. Could be electric car, could be a little more makel because electricity is not Aish going to most poskim, and it's not lighting a light. It's not like you're turning a light switch and there's a bulb. So it could be there. I'm not saying there's a vada. I'm saying theoretically it might be. I don't know. Obviously you have to ask poskim who know the Metzias more than I do, and the Oisik in the Indian. What about using like microwaves? No, I don't mean obviously there's electricity and whatever, but let's say that the actual microwave. Can you put food into? Is that bimolid aish or induction? I recently got an induction range top. So induction is very interesting because induction, there's no flame. The way it works is that it creates an electromagnetic field which causes the pot to heat up very fast. So you don't see any aish, but can you go, if you put it on there, is it, make it suddenly, because it's a metal pot, suddenly it heats it up. So is that called fire? Is that not called fire? Pasha says it's some sort of, I would think it's some sort of molid because, as the Taz says, yesh me'ayin, you're suddenly creating this thing to get hot. So it's like a microwave, you're shooting on food, it also makes it get hot. It could be it'd be a sort of molid. It is a little bit unclear. It's an interesting shaila about how to define with induction, how to define if you want to use it on Yom Tov. How would you go about that? Could you go about that? Whatever. It's an interesting shaila. Or it's molid, but you couldn't say differently that whatever, because you're not actually creating any fire. Just I guess you're creating heat, but you're not. I don't know. It's a hard discussion. Let's go weiter. You can't make coals, and you can't use a bellows, or your fan, whatever, that you can only use. You can blow with a straw or something. And I'll go ahead to mapuach. because it's a shinui. Because the mapuach you use a bellows, it's like uzu l'chol. Nagu heter mapuach shel balabatim or the shinui. If you don't have a professional one, the shinui lahafkul malamalo lamata. You flip it. I don't know exactly what the exact mapuach looks like. It's some sort of bellows. You flip it over. Hagal motor lachasas ha'esh bekli. You're allowed to go ahead and cover a fire with Aish or with Efer Mukhan. If it's not, as long as you're not going to put it out, you want to lessen the heat. And that's whatever. Dafel tzarach yom tov rishon, about the tzarach yom tov sheni also.
Lower the gas flame.
So lowering gas flame is mutter. Based on this, we're going the post game.
Not turning it off.
Not turning it off. That's keep. Although Moshe personally held it's mutter to shut it off. He held his ground kivui, and he actually was he actually paskin that for his wife, but he didn't paskin it for the oilam. He says that he holds there. I think he holds you're even allowed to be magvir. That was still a bit cooler because he held it's the grama. It's not psikresha. But Akopanim that Yom Tov Rishon, right? It's not Yom Tov Rishon. Akopanim, most poskim generally hold you're allowed to lower a flame on the gas flame on Yom Tov. Just you can't be magri and you can't shut it off.
You can't increase it.
You can't increase it.
You cannot increase it?
Wait. You know what? I'm getting a little bit flipped over here.
No, we're not.
One second. No, you're allowed. You're right. You are allowed to. Well, you can't put it out. Oh, right. Decreasing it. You know what? No, I have to. Okay. I have to look that up a little bit more. I'll just discuss it tomorrow. Yeah,
that doesn't imply lowering it.
It does imply. It does imply.
Go out as well.
It does imply lowering it, but it's not. It's not taking the fuel away. You see, there's a shiloh about taking the fuel away from the fire. That's going to be the issue of lowering gas. Is that taking fuel away from the fire or not? If you're making a fire in Yom Tov, when you set up the eitzim, you shouldn't put it like a pyramid. It's like an oil. Just throw in one big mix. Or Orach Chaim, like any other oil, you hold the eights up and you stick another eights underneath it. The acher tachtav ad shu magia la'aretz, and you just hold the top one up and you stack things underneath it. Because obviously if there's no space, it's not a problem. But if the issue is there's a tefach there, that there's spaces, and there you taka need because of the air is good for the fire. Because the din by if you don't need it, then that's something else. But here you want the air, so therefore it is oil. So therefore you have to do a b'shinu. A kedera also you want to go ahead and set up a fire underneath it. So you set up some stones. Again, you need the space underneath for the fire, so therefore hold it in the air and then put the stones underneath it. But don't put it down with a space on top of stones. Hamita, if you want to do a bed, put out a bed. Again, if you hold the mattress up and then you put and again, we're talking about a bed that has four walls, so to speak. They're not with posts with legs, but it's like a box, like they have here. So that would be. So you should hold the bed up first and put the bottom under the frame underneath it. Afilu beitzim lo yamido isam shura al gabi shura sheyamdu k'mo migdal. Shouldn't stack beitzim till it stands like a tower. All these things you just need to do it b'shinui. Also a table which has like some sort of desk or something that has the sides go, or go down to the bottom. Tzarich shinui, also need to do a shinui if you're putting the tabletop on the table. But mutter lahoishiv shulchan shalana or ragav, if it has legs, you're allowed to put a shulchan on the legs. Ve'em bezeh mishum binyan.
Is this folding table?
Also folding table, yeah. Used to be they would have the tabletop and they put the legs underneath and then you sit at the table and you stick the board on top or whatever. But this folding table, since it's legs, it's not a problem. This is again going back to Chazara that if you don't need the space underneath the table, so then it's also mutter. If you have a bunch of wood that was lit, any eights that didn't catch fire, you can take it away. It's not doma to taking fuel away from an air. You're allowed to take a lit stick from one side of the madura and put it on the other side. It's kibui lo b'chavana. As you're taking the fuel away for, like I mentioned, with the gas. I just have to look up the specifics. But you're taking the fuel away from the fire, so that here it's your kavanah, it's avashenu miskaven, because you're just trying to make the fire stronger. However, the Mishabur does bring the Paiskim who are machmir. It's better not to, but again, it's okay. If you did, it's okay. In my opinion, I guess. Ein soichen is a kedera below sadelos bevikas. You should not prop up kedera or use a door as a piece of wood for a door stopper, because that's mucham for fire. And nowadays people aren't using wood for a fire, so it could be you could use it for these things, because what else would you have a piece of wood? I don't know. But you're allowed to go ahead and take a piece of wood and use it to as like you want to do a campfire, so you see I have a stick and you stick the hot dogs on, that would be mutter. Even though this bika, this piece of wood you get, is not really worried to burn, but al kopanim you can use it to go ahead and to light it with other ones, because it wasn't really set aside for burning, but since you can go ahead and light it with everything else, because it's lach. This bika is moist, so but you could throw it in the fire with other eitzim. L'didan mutu levasha b'kederes chadashas b'yomtiv. We are allowed to go ahead and use kederes chadashas on yomtiv, even though by lighting it strengthens it. It's not considered gomeres akli. Hagavi yesh oisrim. Again, this din is not by Shabbos, because you can't put a cheres pot on the flame on Shabbos, but on Yom Tov that's what the shaila comes up. Yesh oisrim mechena minig, and lo yali etzchak, you have no other pot, because it's mechazik it's like a makav patish type thing, it's mechazik the pot. L'chein nagu kishikonim k'deres chadashos b'Pesach, v'vashim b'hem kodem Yom Tov, you have to be sure you cook with it before Yom Tov. It's about cheres. I mean, I don't think by metal it has the same din, but by cheres that would be the din. For example, if you have a crock pot, then you should use it. You shouldn't use it the first time on Yom Tov, because that's also cheres, and it could be that would, I don't know. It could be with gomer. I'm not sure. It could be with gomer in the thing. It's not fresh pashtus, but I'm just giving you an idea where maybe it's nogea al kopanim. So we'll stop here.
Sure.